This is the Motorola Edge 20 Lite. It is the cheaper successor to last year's Motorola Edge. If you'd like to take a look at the unboxing of this phone, then go ahead and click on the information button on the top right corner. Anyways, for £300 this phone comes with a lot of useful impressive features, so let's take a look at it. Starting off with the design and build quality. On the left you've got the SIM tray as well as the handy Google Assistant button. On the right you've got the power button with integrated fingerprint sensor as well as the volume buttons above it. On the top is a microphone, and on the bottom is the headphone jack, USB-C port, another microphone and a speaker. Something that irritates me, and I have to mention, is that Motorola have put all the FCC and other regulation labels on the bottom frame, and it looks kinda cheap and unpleasant to look at. I would have very much preferred if they put that information on the back near the bottom of the phone, just like any other phone company. Motorola hasn't mentioned the protection that the front glass uses. The back is made out of plastic and the phone frame is also made out of plastic, which is the normal build quality you'd expect for this price. If you've got slightly oily fingers, then you'd have to expect to easily smudge the back plastic. Thankfully, Motorola includes a free high quality case inside the box. The phone is relatively thin, knowing that this phone has a humongous battery, which I'll get onto later. It has an interesting camera bump. It is quite thick, but I will admit the back camera module design is quite stylish and unique. It is a bit reminiscent of the iPhone 11 camera design, which isn't a bad thing. This phone supports dual SIM thankfully, which is a neat feature. The Edge 20 Lite doesn't have any water resistant rating, but there are subtle water resistant protection, such as a very thin rubber seal around the SIM tray slot, so maybe it is water resistant after all, but I wouldn't bet on it. The color choices you get with this phone is quite limited. In my hands I've got the electric graphite, and there's another beautiful color called the lagoon green. Unfortunately I wasn't able to get my hands on the green color because Motorola says it's out of stock for over 2 weeks now in the UK, which is extremely disappointing to see. There's a fingerprint sensor integrated in the power button as mentioned before. It's quite fast and responsive, which is good to see. The phone also has face unlock feature, which is responsive. I've tried fooling it with a selfie of me, but it wouldn't unlock, so I guess it's overall secure. The vibration motor on this phone is pretty average for the price you pay. Moving on to the display. It's a 6.7 inch display size with an aspect ratio of 19 by 5 by 9. The display is OLED based with PPI of 385. It's capable of 90Hz refresh rate, and it's also capable of HDR10+, which is really good to see in 2021. It also has a really small punch hole camera in the top middle, and it doesn't really bother me, or it's not even that noticeable. The bezels overall on this phone is quite thin and modern looking. Watching movies or YouTube on this phone as well as gaming on this phone is excellent due to the big screen size. Overall the display quality is quite pleasant to look at, and the resolution is Full HD+, so it's a good quality display. The viewing angles is also great, and the colours are vibrant with deep black colours. Now it's time to talk about an area that doesn't shine much, no pun intended. Yes, I'm talking about the screen brightness. Motorola doesn't mention how bright it is, but I gotta mention that using this phone outdoors when it's cloudy is kind of a struggle. There's a lot of reflection on the screen since it's not extremely bright, and using this phone under direct sunlight is kind of hard to do. I wish it had just a little bit more screen brightness. Moving on to the processor, this phone comes equipped with the 7nm MediaTek Dimensity 725G. The Wi-Fi and data connectivity and performance is quite decent. I get fast download and upload speeds on both Wi-Fi and mobile data. And yes, this chipset supports 5G connectivity, which is good to have, and it's future-proofed. Also, this phone supports FM radio if you're into that. The phone comes with the Mali G57 GPU. On PUBG, the maximum FPS I'm able to get is around 40 FPS. The gaming capabilities on this phone is decent and overall smooth to play games like PUBG. The phone also stays relatively cool when playing games. Onto the cameras. There's 3 cameras on the back. There's the 108MP main wide camera, there's the 8MP 118° ultra-wide camera, and lastly a useless gimmicky 2MP depth sensor. With the back camera you are able to record up to 4K 30fps or 1080p 60fps video. The video stabilization it uses is gyro-based electronic image stabilization. The selfie camera is a 32 megapixel camera and it can record up to 1080p 30fps video. The photo quality on this phone is, I would say, average. It has an average dynamic range. The image quality is subpar, especially in low light conditions like a cloudy day. Overall, the images on this phone are average at best. The video quality on this phone is, well, let me explain. When recording in 1080p 60fps, the video quality tends to look on the softer side and doesn't exactly have the best quality or sharpness. If you record at 4K 30fps, then the video footage actually looks quite pleasant. It does have decent vibrant colors. It has good enough dynamic range, as in the details in the shadow is average. Although I did mention this phone uses EIS stabilization, I don't think it works on 4K 30fps mode. So if you take a lot of video footage when you're walking or running, it may look a bit unpleasant with all the shakiness. The selfie quality is pretty decent. In outdoors the quality is good, and indoors the quality is a bit soft, but nevertheless is still good quality. The selfie video recording is also good quality. It's good for video calling on Google Duo or Zoom, but I will have to say that there is pretty much no stabilization on the selfie camera, so footage can look quite shaky when you're walking or moving a lot. .5x. Now let's talk about the speaker. This phone has a single fairing bottom speaker. The speaker quality on this phone is quite good. Although it doesn't have a lot of bass, it does sound good and it gets extremely loud. Overall, the speaker on this phone is really good in my usage. The phone call quality on this phone is, I'd say, just about average. The clarity during phone calls is adequate enough. I do have to mention that this phone has a really good audio effects customization feature. I often listen to music using my Samsung Galaxy Buds Plus, and I'm able to go inside audio settings and increase the bass. My favorite sound profile on this phone is called Bass Punch. It's awesome to see that Motorola includes a good audio effects feature. Moving on to the storage and RAM. In the UK, the only configuration is 128GB storage with 8GB of RAM, which I believe is good enough for most people, but it would have been nice if there were bigger storage variants. Thankfully, there is support for micro SD card. This phone comes with 8GB of RAM, which is plenty for the price. I'm able to have roughly more than 9 or 10 apps or even more in the background without any apps refreshing, which is great. It's time to talk about the battery. The battery capacity on this phone is a massive 5000 mAh battery. I'm easily able to get 1 day's worth of battery life. Bear in mind that I'm a heavy user, constantly taking pictures and videos, using social media, sometimes playing PUBG, and using the phone on mostly near maximum brightness. So I would say that the battery life on this phone is really good. As for the charging, the phone comes with a 30-watt turbo charger inside the box, which is really handy. This phone charges really fast. To give some context, the phone charges from around 30% to 73% in just under 30 minutes. And with 50 minutes of charging, it reaches from 30% to 90% charge. So it's really impressive stuff. This phone has a lot of battery features, which is extremely good to see. Onto the software. The Edge 20 Lite comes shipped with Android 11 and it has the July 2021 update out of the box. The Edge 20 Lite runs near stock Android but has little Motorola features here and there. There's also this feature called RAM Boost where you are able to get 2GB of extra virtual RAM from the internal storage. There's another feature called Power Touch where you tap the power button twice and it brings up a shortcut app list and you are able to quickly launch apps from there. So it's quite a useful feature. There's the 3-finger screenshot where you're able to place 3 fingers on the screen and hold it for a couple of seconds and it takes a screenshot. There's another feature called Quick Launch which uses extra RAM to open your selected apps like Twitter or Reddit just a bit faster. You can add up to 3 apps for quick launching. There are many more quirky features and useful features that Motorola have added, but I can't list them all in one video. Launching apps on this phone is relatively quick and responsive, which is kind of impressive from the Dimensity 725G. Now, although this phone has an OLED display, it still lacks some sort of an always-on display, which I really crave from other phones like Samsung. There is this ambient display feature where you lift up the phone and it shows you the date, the time, and the battery percentage. It also shows you the notification at the bottom, and if you hold the notification, it will show you more info about it. And if you drag up on that notification, it will open the app. I guess this is a decent alternative to an always-on display. I do have to mention that sometimes the ambient display feature can be a bit annoying. It's extremely sensitive to movements, so if you place your phone on, say, the sofa and you make any little movements here and there, then the ambient display activates every single time and it's kind of irritating to see. So I just put my phone on the table to avoid this issue from happening. Now let's talk about the software updates. Motorola has announced that the Edge 20 series will get at least 2 Android operating system updates and will receive at least 2 years of bi-monthly security updates. As for how fast the updates are, last year's Motorola Edge phone got the Android 11 update around March 2021. That's almost a 6-month delay because Android 11 was released in September 2020. So don't hold your breath for the fastest software updates from this phone. Let's talk about the price. In the UK, this phone comes around £300 for the 128GB storage variant. Now I gotta say that for the features and specs I've listed so far in this video, it does seem that the £300 price tag is quite reasonable and fair. I've enjoyed reviewing this phone. It's a good device and I'd recommend anyone to get it. It's really good for the price you pay. Alrighty, that's pretty much the end of this video. Let me know if you have any questions about this phone down in the comments below and I'll be sure to respond as soon as I can. If you enjoyed this video, then consider liking, and if you like to see more tech content, then consider subscribing as well. And that's pretty much it. See you in the next video.